Yes, thank you and welcome for this first meeting and first study group about whole permaculture. I just want to say something about it. It's the coming context of permaculture as designed by co-originator David Holmgren and Bill Morrison, and the proposal make it to make it dive into inner or inward permaculture. And that's the gathering or the collection of the two that initiated the world whole permaculture. And before we go there, I just want to get to know where you come from, what is your background regarding permaculture or not, and or maybe it's possibility management or both.
I will jump in.
Yes.
I came across permaculture in around about 1977, when I went to Australia from New Zealand. And yeah, it made a lot of sense. And I followed that thread for many years and have been actively involved, particularly in the biological systems, likes of building food forests and supporting the growth of that concept. And that's actually a lot of my interest is that. But then since becoming involved with and doing an ETB just over a year ago, I became very curious about what the marriage of permaculture and possibility management could be. Yeah, so that's why I'm here.
Thank you. And you're from Australia, right? You're living in Australia.
No, New Zealand.
New Zealand. Okay.
Cool. Thanks, James. I didn't realize you'd been involved in permaculture for as long as I've been alive. I was born in 1977. And I came across permaculture when I was working for the Department of Conservation, which is like our parks service sort of equivalent. And I don't know, probably 20 odd years ago. And since then have been pretty involved. I've done some teaching. I work for what we call Polytechs, which is like a tertiary institution over here. Worked for them for quite a few years, teaching what they called sustainable rural development. It was basically permaculture repackaged into something that the government would fund. And I bumped into James along the way a few times, and so it's cool to see you here in a totally different context, James, in the possibility management. Well, in this crossover context, so I got involved with possibility management. Maybe I did an ETB like 2 years ago, and I did my first lab last winter, and yeah, I found I was involved in permaculture first, and then met possibility management. And I found the transition, the meeting to meet possibility management from a context of permaculture, I suspect was relatively easy compared to people who the permaculture game world. And so I really both, out of all the possible game worlds that are out there, these would be the two that have had the biggest influence on my life, and the two that I care about the most. And that's why I'm here. The meeting of them just fills me with fear and joy.
Yeah,
and the amount
can you
of potential in permaculture, the amount of unrealized potential in permaculture is phenomenal, and I've been angry about that for years. And here's possibility management with the clarity and the distinctions, the feelings work, just the everything that, and the nothing that has so much potential. Yeah, and yeah, that'll do for now. That's why I'm here.
Thank you. It has been a cut in
No,
connection, but I guess I could hear fully what you were saying at the end. Thank you. Sorry, Charlie, you can go.
Thank you, Gabriel. I'm living on Tui in New Zealand, not so far away from James. I can't remember when I first got interested in permaculture, but I was living on some land in the Azores, and as a design system for growing food, it seemed very good. But I started a food forest and designed the land around that. Then I became interested in community, and I realized that permaculture was a much, much bigger system. And then I became fed up of the word, actually, because it was in everything that I thought of. And now I've moved to Tui from there. I saw something in the chat. I'm Rabina's partner. So it was really, permaculture was a big thing that brought us together, and a lot of interesting community. And I came over here to be with her. And recently, Clinton came to Tui, and he invited me to write a book on Zone 00. And I'd never really thought about that. And so I've been researching it for a while now. And it's really, really interesting. And I agree with James A. How underused this system is. And I actually see it, it's a bit of a bold statement, but I see it as an answer to everything, a little bit like yoga is a big word. It's not just about movement. I see it as an answer to the state that this planet is in at the moment. Or certainly a framework for that. Yeah. But I think that's enough for now. I'm interested in how this came about, and Gabriel, why you called this meeting.
Yes. Yes, there are many reasons and no reason for that. The first thing is that it came to me during a lab in Poland, that many people were involved in permaculture and were questioning why there is no bridge between permaculture and possibility management. And the research has been started years ago by someone who passed out, Dan Palmer, who was holding space for that. So whole permaculture was already existing some years ago. And another thing that came to me is my path. My own path has been to deliver trainings about permaculture in France, basically, and also in Belgium for something like 7 years. And my specialty was to be a professional, non-trained trainer, meaning that I've learned permaculture through experiment and experience through different eco-villages in Europe. And that's how I learned permaculture. And one very, I would say, funny or like a God's joke is that I end up, hello, Irene, jump on board.
Hola.
Obrigado.
Obrigada.
We're presenting, so keep going and then you can present yourself. The funny thing is that I learned permaculture staying 1 year in a Gurdjieff community in Belgium. So it was Gurdjieff and Osho, the main impulse of this community, which was a bit like anarchic kind of way of living together. There was a strong leader and 7 pillars, let's say, and that's the very first time that I knew why I was coming to Belgium to learn permaculture, and why I was not interested in learning PDCs through PDCs and theoretical. To me, it felt like too much theoretical, and I wanted something experiential. And this experience and these doors opened by the Gurdjieff and Osho was very expanding, and like, oh, this is another taste of permaculture. And from there, I jumped from community to community to learn more and to learn the edge between permaculture, spirituality, inner worlds, whatever. And therefore came naturally to the question of whole permaculture. And so that's why I'm here. And I want to add one thing to complement that, is that for the first time, I'm training with David Holmgren through a PDC. So it's just has started, and I started blending distinction with him about inner permaculture. So the journey is starting, let's say, or restarting. And I'm glad we are all here together. Irene, can you present yourself?
Hello. I'm living in Costa Rica, and I've been practicing permaculture around 10 years ago. I discovered permaculture in a research of my healing, my physical body. I wanted to get into better way of eating, and I get into a community garden, and then at the moment the garden was totally different than the gardens that I used to see. And it was a guy that were applying permaculture there, and it happened in 2015, I think, or something like that. And from that, my curiosity started and take me to take PDC. My first one, I did it with 2 foragers here in Costa Rica in 2017. And then I did another one in 2020, more related to the herbalist path. And I've been teaching permaculture, experiencing permaculture in my life, and also giving away outside an introduction. I did a lot of introductions, not the whole PDC, but just introduction for foragers. And in those experiences, I realized the importance of getting not only into the external garden or the external permaculture, not only the outer permaculture, mostly in the importance of connecting with the emotions and the part of the inner permaculture. And around 2.5 years or something, I discovered PM. And for me, it's a really good piece of the puzzle for continue this growing and understanding of how we can go inside into the emotions, and using all those tools together. It is like a really like that for me, has been like that. So I'm so happy to be here and create this game world together.
Yay. I didn't say, I forgot I come from France, by the way. Yeah, if you want to give something else or something that you thought about that is relevant to bring in this space before we jump together in this edge between inner and outer.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got a couple other things I want to say. Dan Palmer was a really close friend of mine, and we're working together on this stuff for some time. And he introduced me to possibility management, and so we were exploring that interface together quite a bit. And the one, so I have one thing that's really important. My sense is that it's really important for this game world, this whole permaculture game world, or whatever it may be called, because I have questions about the name, is that we're very careful what the originating impulse is, because the way it's been described so far, I have fear about it, and my fear is around the broadness of the invitation into inner permaculture or zone 0, and that it's broader than possibility management, and that there's inauthenticity in the broadness, that we don't, all of the conversation and everything is about bringing possibility management and permaculture together, but then in the name there's everything else. Like, so possibility management is a subset of all possible inner permaculture work. And so I'm just getting a lack of clarity and a blurriness, and for me it's really clear. For me, this is a meeting of possibility management and permaculture. It's not a meeting of Osho and Gurdjieff and nonviolent communication and what's the ecology one? Deep ecology and all these other things, which are all really cool. And they're already a part of permaculture. They're already, like, inner permaculture already exists within permaculture. So effectively we would be to bring whole permaculture is to bring kind of nothing, because it's already there. It's to rename something that already exists. So that's what I bring, is this care about how this thing starts, and the clarity that's needed for it to fly. Because if it starts from a place that doesn't have clarity, people won't know what the hell it is. People will not jump on, and it will not fly.
Yes. Thank you. Feels like a distinction already landing in the space. Yeah. I don't want to answer that. And
I have a big yes. I have a big yes for that.
Yeah.
And that was my curiosity, and my original questions in the Telegram group were to seeking clarity. What is this? And yeah, the meeting of permaculture and PM, very simply, and is what lands for me. And I was curious about this title, Whole Permaculture. Where is that coming from? Is that and did I have I overlooked that as a suggestion for a name of the group? Is that what was being proposed? the whole permaculture name, where does that originate?
The name is coming from Dan Palmer originally, and from possibility management, as far as I know. And it came to me by this word, meaning that's how I got presented to it. Like, it already exists, it's already part of possibility management. When I discovered the distinction of whole permaculture, and because also it's one of the website also of the game world, XYZ, Start Over. So it's already integrated in it. And I started with that. And okay. And what I experimented already is that I have an association in France, and I've been researching about the ages about permaculture, and doing permaculture in intuition, permaculture in shamanism, permaculture in whatever. So I tried in 7 years to open many directions. And so that's why I relate a lot with what James has said about a clear context. Otherwise, it's getting very, let's say, not very authentic, as you said. Like, there is a lot of distinction in possibility management that brings clarity. And for me, it's coming from, it's not outer, it's not a new permaculture that try to convince people already in permaculture, but it's more coming from the place that it's inner permaculture, which is possibility management, that bridge towards the outer. So it's more coming from this place. That's what I want to bring.
I wanted to say that this is the part, as the bridge, as there is a bridge or many tools from possibility management between different cultures, like mother culture and the new culture. So then it's a bridge between what is outer permaculture with inner permaculture. That is the way that I see it. Is a bridge. That is the part that we want to create, or that I want to create. How to connect people from outer to in permaculture with the tools and technology of PM.
Yeah, so it seems like the fundamental question for us at the moment is, how wide is that bridge? Is the bridge just wide enough for possibility management, or is the bridge wide enough for possibility management plus everything else that shows up?
I have no clarity, like the whole response of that, but I will keep it in possibility management to have it, because and also, wow, it's wider than that, I guess, and would be the discover, because then I'm not 100% sure, but what about the parts of magical parts of nature?
Yeah. One thing that is coming to me is that in the original description, we did a very first talk with Anne-Chloé about this in French. And the things that came naturally into it is the exploration between permacultures, different forms of permaculture that exist around the world. And so there is something archetypal about permaculture. And so these things came out, and the things of PM as inner permaculture. I forgot. I think there was, for me, the idea of having a doorway, like permaculture, as many times have been in my life, a doorway for many things. But how can permaculture or whole permaculture, if this is still the name that we use, is opening for doorways and having the clarity of possibility management, or the distinction of possibility management. And what Irene is bringing is that there is non-research area in possibility management regarding, for example, communicating with animals, or communicating with invisible life force or energies, or like it can go very can be something that can be developed from there. And I still don't know for what objective or what purpose, and it's still to get refined. But for now, that's what I've been collected a little bit with what we started, Irene and me and Anne-Chloe. And yeah, I would say we are here for that. We're here for discovering that together. So, yeah.
Sorry,
This
we're here
might
to
be basic, but there's three sort of keystones for permaculture: earth care, fair share, and people care. And PM for me is part of people care. So I would put PM inside of permaculture. And you mentioned different forms of permaculture in the world. I'm not quite sure what you meant by that. Certainly, it can be interpreted in many different ways, and it's a structure that is infinitely flexible and developing. And what I heard Irina talk about, if you like, the spiritual nature of connection with all things is absolutely in all those principles in permaculture. It's key. And it maybe it's the part that's missing slightly. I feel very privileged here, but generally that deep connection we could not treat the world in the way that it's being treated if that connection was true and strong. And we couldn't even treat each other in the way that we treat each other if that was like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel fear about what I'm gonna say, because I've been researching so many different area, like permaculture connected to magic or to art or to, and there are even some farmer permaculture that have 72 principles and not the 12 original. They have people that have been replacing, only keeping 2 ethics. The majority of permaculture trainers are keeping 2 ethics, and the third is moving, is like, for example, for some of them, there is care for society instead of fair share, or care for the future instead of fair share. Or so maybe this is a matter of interpretation, and I feel fear of bringing that, because it feels like the structure feels solid in a way, and somehow can also melt. Like there is a permaculture box, you know, and it's already starting to be liquid at some times.
Yeah. I don't think permaculture is a box. It was set up to fly, and it's flying. I've got a list of all the different permaculture principles from different people that I could find, a whole bundle of them. Yep, it amazed me. It's spreading out all over the place. But it's people's interpretation and how they want to use it and what is meaningful to them. That's where they're coming from. I'm a kind of simple guy, and I like simplicity, and most of the principles that were thought of originally stand up very, very well. And of course, people make their own. I welcome that. I cannot see it as a box, and I would be really interested if you could put it in one.
Yeah, I'm really interested about your list of principle that you gathered, like really to see how, and it's a bit a dangerous question, or like I'm a little bit teasing when I'm saying that, like what if permaculture is a box? That was my impulse, my question. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, my fear is to see possibility management as one of the core pillar of permaculture is is also coming from this impulse about this meeting, because I took the flower of the David Holmgren, the permaculture flower with the 7 petals. And the thing is that from the very beginning of the PDC that I'm starting now, David say, unfortunately, the 4 behavior petals are underdeveloped. That's one of the things that David said. And I think one of the way we can investigate that, or for me, would be to see how this petal could be developed and maybe are coming from possibility management already. And yeah, that's where I am, and where I'm stepping in the unknown, saying, okay, this is all great, this is all already existing, and there are very strong pillars all around the world. And sometimes permaculture is failing. Sometimes permaculture is considered as a box, maybe. By my experience, I've seen many trainings that are so theoretical that people just have some theoretical stuff to plug into modern culture and do the same with nice concept. And that's where my fear is, and my anger is telling me, okay, how those petals can evolve if they are shrunk? And that's the question I want to land it to the space. Like, yeah.
I thank you, Gabriel. I have some fear and some anger around this, and I want to come back to the naming, because the naming of this impulse and the group and the first I want that it's the anger. I have anger for this idea that there's this thing called whole permaculture, which is somehow a marriage of possibility management and permaculture. I think it is a disrespect to everything that has been built up and grown in the permaculture field, and it feels, yeah, it feels presumptuous to redesign permaculture, to claim it as okay, we're going to make a whole permaculture anew. Yeah. and my fear is that by attempting to do that, there's that it will get rejected by the permaculture community, and that's too big of a risk. And I really resonate with the simple, this is permaculture and possibility management. This is a collaboration. It's the coming together. And I think James Andrews, you nailed it with yes, all of the other tools which have come into permaculture and being used. I remember going to the Parahaka Peace Festival and having a most incredibly powerful and now I've just blanked on the name, the deep ecology, which was held within the permaculture context. And I think it's that kind of collaboration which feels honorable and appropriate and can honor both permaculture and possibility management. And yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, James.
James, you're saying like collaboration of possibility management and permaculture is, yeah, honoring both contexts.
Honoring.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have some in what I'm about to say. Was that James Andrews again?
Yeah.
We did it last time. You go this time.
Okay, my turn. Oh, it's in response. I think it was you, Charlie, who was saying that you see permaculture as being inside possibility management. And as you're saying that, I was thinking, oh, I'm not sure. I kind of almost see it as like petrol being poured on top of possibility management. It's like the petrol and the spark is possibility management being poured on top of permaculture. And because there's so many ways that possibility management can enliven permaculture and unstick the places where it's stuck. And there's this tree model of permaculture, right? And there's this what really works for me is the deepening of the roots and the expansion of the canopy at the same time. And possibility management works for me, seems to be a catalyst to enable that to happen, the deepening of the roots and the expansion of the canopy, to really move things along. And I'm 100% in agreement with this the naming thing. It really does not sit well with me. And also, for the record, I'm almost 100% sure it didn't come from Dan. It pre-existed Dan's involvement, and I suspect it was something that Clinton came up with.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long the website's been sitting there for. Some years, I suspect, and also I suspect that it's the name that has stopped it from really developing. The ambiguity, the vagueness, the weirdness with the name.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that. And one thing that I want to bring is really this, let's say, this practicality of bringing those two things together seems like sometimes incompatible, or is to make a bridge. It's not from the outside or outward, but it's more from inward to outside. It's more from this idea of starting from an original idea that is coming from PM, as you said, James. And for me, this is the starting point. It's more like what is coming from this 0-0 zone and spreading from there, and might be slightly different from permaculture. So if that's the case, but the edge for me is how much disrespect permaculture or disrespect it, and therefore is no more permaculture.
Could you repeat that last part, please?
Yes. If the impulse is coming, the original impulse is coming from possibility management, and from the bridge from inner to outer, which is a different perspective from, I feel fear of saying that, but permaculture for me is more coming from an outer perspective, generally. And that's the big difference. And that's the point of origin. Like, where is the point of origin of that? And for me, like Andrew said, like coming from possibility management, and therefore maybe it's not whole permaculture. I don't know the name already. And how much the construct of permaculture can evolve from there, can evolve from this different point of origin. And I feel fear about the point of origin of permaculture, meaning it has been a synthesis of many philosophy, of many all around the world, but there is a point of origin, and maybe that's where the dangerous discussion is. And I feel fear about this discussion because it's like stepping on the foundation of permaculture. It's like,
there's something in there that's not landing for me. That possibility management is inner work and permaculture is outer work.
yeah.
There was a talk recently where Clinton spoke at a conference of coaches in Australia, and it was so refreshing to hear him say, possibility management is not feelings work. It's about managing possibilities. The feelings work is there to support that. So yeah. I just want to bring that clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, James. And to me, possibility management is a school of magic. It's really what it is, and the feelings is one little thread that contributes into this thinly veiled school of magic that is about creating, and it's about possibility. And yeah,
I feel some fear in saying this. I hear that permaculture about doing, a lot of people think it's about gardening, and it's taught in many, many different ways, and it is completely not. And I think that depth away from it's about gardening is growing now in the world, especially with the state of this planet. It's being applied much more wisely, and that's pulling the teaching of it into a much wiser and broader perspective. I've done three and a half PDCs, and they've all been very different. What James was coming to, this is the fear bit. I think permaculture could be really good for possibility management, getting away from this self-work and getting into practical projects that'll make a difference in the world. But this is just my experience in this locality. And my experience of PM here is people are working on themselves. God dear, it's like, please do something. And when I look at the principles around permaculture, there's a lot to do. And I would love to see possibility management people with the tools of communication that they have getting into action. And this is just my view here. And I wonder what possibility management is like in the rest of the world. But come on, guys, stop talking about it and do something. My fear has passed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Charlie.
And that would be such a contribution to permaculture, but not to take it over or try to claim it or something. It's bigger. Possibility management is a part of it. It's people care. It's about us. But there's a lot more going on in this planet than us. Thank God.
It's not about taking over the other, either in either direction, Charlie. It's about the marriage of both of them, which is so powerful and need to be married in some way, at some level. Yeah,
I think it's a matter of evolve in using the tools of both to improve in the better way of what it is already done, what we already have. And I notice, I feel fear of saying it, I notice in many projects of permaculture that they are really external projects. They are not even in their own farm, connected workers with owners, for example, saying in some way, and apparently they are a farm permaculture. If we connect and integrate using the principles as they are, and connected with the powerful tools, also the possibility management, this can be huge. And that is the bridge that I'm envision. And I'm totally agree about what you say, Charlie, about action, please. Not only in the mind, not just staying in some point. Please, let's do the shift and evolve.
Yeah. I totally hear what also James and Drew said in the group. Like, what if whole permaculture is the result of also possibility management into matter? Or I guess you said something like that in the group. And for me, there is again this fear of like this third ethic that for me might be the bridge between the inner and outer, because the third ethic, fair share or whatever some other trainer call it, and it has been I heard that there has been so many conflict about this third ethic in the very beginning of permaculture. It has always been an edge. This third ethic has always been an edge here. And for me, this is the point where those inner and outer can merge. The inner of already existing permaculture, because permaculture is not outer, it's already inner and outer. More directed to outer and less directed to inner. And possibility management is more directed to inner and less to outer. So there is definitely something that seems to be merging, to be coming together in some way.
I would say that I see it as two big game worlds, and how can we or the design, maybe the creation will be taking these two game worlds and using the tools and making like as close as possible. Or how can, because it's like people from outer permaculture and people from PA. And yeah, how can we do this communication or this new culture?
I think
Thank
that's
you.
a great question. How can possibility management support permaculture?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. I feel it feels like it's the intersection of these worlds is where we're playing, is in this intersection, and it's not one doesn't cover the other. It's an overlap and an intersection. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an edge. It's an edge, right? And the species from both feeding into this fertile edge, that there's stuff coming both directions, and there's something happening there that's not happening anywhere else, and it's this unique place that can only happen in the interface between the two systems, two game worlds.
It's a very active place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not everybody from each place wants to be there. You know, there's only certain people who will want to go and play on this edge. Certain people will be attracted to this edge. Some people will just stay in permaculture. Some people will just stay in PM. Some people will come to this edge and play and go back and forth and jump and you know.
I have joy for that.
Yeah, me too. And I feel also scattered in so many directions. Like I hear all those doorways. Like when I feel that, I feel like a big circle with many names that could be given to those doorways. For example, if I name them, would be evolutionary permaculture, doorway permaculture, possibility permaculture, or whatever. So this could be different doorways from, and yeah, maybe it's, I wonder if it's just an idea of will it be doors like for playing with that.
Gabriel, could you flesh out what you mean by possibility permaculture for me, please?
Yeah,
What is possibility permaculture?
I feel fear because it's coming from one of the from James that used to point out the whole permaculture, and I feel fear about talking about that. And the thing was more putting an emphasis on possibility management and permaculture. That's where it comes from. Why it's more possibility permaculture.
Can I suggest that here is really the place to have conversations that have a lot of fear in them?
Yeah.
And be open. If we can't do that here, then there's something strange happening. And maybe that's where the juice of this whole conversation is. Or it's something to let's dive. A suggestion. Let's really dive into this and see if it flies or it doesn't. But that's how do people feel about it?
Yes. I have a yes for that.
So do you have something else to say about that, Gabriel? It seems like it.
Yeah, when I'm thinking about those many names and yeah, no, it's not not very clear. I see many use of permaculture with pivotal well, for example, connected to different contexts. And what I get from that is an extreme diversity of different permaculture. There's so many permaculture existing. There's not only, there is one seed, one fruit, let's say, and so many permaculture scattered, like so many ways. And I thinking of for example, I've seen permaculture from Peru, which is totally different, or as an emphasis on magic and reality creation. Or I've seen permaculture from Alex Gray, which is an artist, like an international artist, and that call it visionary permaculture. I've seen the permaculture of what is this guy again? Ben Falk, who has a farm in the Vermont, and has like this 100 principles, and he replaced the 12 originates by 100 principles of permaculture. And I think, of course, of Starhawk, which is an incredible magician and activist, by the way, that redesigned the third ethic into care for the future, meaning that the essence of magic is also being visionary and throwing a thread into the future, throwing a line into the future, and yeah, creating another impulse. And so that's so many things that I've seen, and they are on the edge. Like maybe 70% of the curriculum of PDC or permaculture are based on David Holmgren and Bill Morrison, but 30 to 20%, and that's where I've been researching, are like melting a little bit the structure of how permaculture is. But there is still a structure that stays there. So yeah, I feel fear about bringing that, because what is the thing that could be removed, or it could be changed, or could be without being so, arrogant in a powerful way, meaning arrogant in a way that is questioning the future. And then when I'm saying that, I'm feeling fear of being so big, or like this big question of
Go
yeah,
big.
it's like, if we are humans on this planet, it's for questioning this future. Otherwise, we're just entities that are submitted to force of whatever. I'm trying to grasp the juice of okay, maybe that's an edge. It's already an edge, and for me, that's what possibility management calls in the room, and also Starhawk or other activists that use permaculture. And there might be many that I don't know, and certainly unknown permaculture, for example, could be another name, could be given. Like what and of course, regarding possibility management, next permaculture. What is next permaculture? Permaculture is a game world already existing and is evolving, because it's something that is alive. Then it is evolving. Toward which direction it is evolving? Towards what? What is next permaculture? If there is next culture in possibility management, then there is next permaculture. That what is where we can dive in.
Next permaculture landed for me. That it was the radical edge, of permaculture, informed by possibility management, is that's how it landed for me. The radical edge of permaculture that is, I feel huge sadness coming.
Yeah.
That is caring for the future. Yeah, that is laying a foundation that is solid in feeling and solid in action. It's so needed. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing it sadness and fear.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel joy of this expression, solid in carry and solid in action. That's powerful. And I think this is the part that the part of being solid, real, authentic, and not like a brand or like something that is famous to do, and landed in reality what is really needed. And that's what I got, this sensation that is missing the wonderful tool of PM that can both together, can be like really an evolution or a next chapter of what it is at the moment. Taking both different tools and do it in one or in this bridge, let's say, because definitely some people will stay forever in the same pattern of thinking, but then creating this bridge for the curious and the one who wants a different, or who wants and like to walk in the age, to connect both game worlds.
There was two things that I wrote before starting this meeting. Is that, and I feel fear of hammering a little bit what is permaculture while saying that, and I want to say that it's the word concept, a concept that is coming, and there is a precious distinction in possibility management about shifting from concept, thinking with concept, which is modern software, to thinking with feelings, and also moving from there. What if permaculture is sometimes a concept and sometimes a distinction? It's really not the same thing. For me, when permaculture originates from a concept, then there is a point of origin that is still rooted in modern culture, because it starts from somewhere. And when I shifted towards this is a distinction, permaculture is a distinction, then the point of origin is relocated in somewhere else. And maybe that's the third ethic, care for the future. And And also the difference between concept and distinction is a concept originate from the mind, could come from great analysis and whatever, but it's coming mainly from the mind, which is overdeveloped in modern culture. And in the field of possibility management, the distinction is coming from 4 to 5 bodies. So it's a different perspective. And that's where I feel that there is an opportunity to expand or to really battle in a way that is fruitful. Battle for permaculture, something like that. Like, that's the gut feeling that I got now is and there is anger and joy in me while saying that. Joy for this permaculture to exist as it is. And there is also fear about questioning the point of origin. Like, all the permaculture doesn't come from the same point of origin. And anger, because I want to locate whole permaculture into a point of origin that is the future, caring for the future. Human as creator, not as adaptive creature, let's say. Or survival, a species that try to survive barely on a land that is destroyed by its own survival strategies, which feels so depressive to me when I think of that. When I think of all the magic that I've seen about so many people.
There's a lot there. The last part, I belong on this planet. And if I behave in an inappropriate way, part of my belonging is I answer to my actions. So if I don't exist anymore, that's what I contributed to. And I feel like I'm defending permaculture, but it was set up in such a brilliant way. I don't know where this idea of concept came from. I've never heard it called a concept before. It's really a design framework that is amazingly flexible and was set off into action in Australia. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the First Nation people there practiced a lot of the things that came out in permaculture. So I don't agree that it's come out of modern culture. And if anything, we're looking for more and more the First Nations people and their methods and how they work here, the Maori in New Zealand. It's fascinating, and there's so much to learn from that. And you talked about Peru. I imagine the Quechua, the spirit of Quechua in Peru and coming together with permaculture will be quite extraordinary. And then the way other people like Starhawk's looking at it, it's adaptable. It's resilient. It has what's the name for a lot of things? Divergence, help. When you have a lot of speed. Thank you. Diversity. It has sort of infinite diversity. And this is a principle that I look out of the window here. It's that's what makes this place tick. It's the power of it. And it got it got started, and it's evolving, and it will change. It's built like that. It reminds me of WikiLeaks. It doesn't have a central place. It grows and grows and grows. You can't put it down. I think it's a wonderful structure to have in the world now, and its diversity is its strength. And that's why I'm really interested in what you're bringing, Gabrielle, and to be open for this conversation and looking for something that can add to that. I certainly, I wish it was a lot more popular. I wish it was used a lot more wisely. I think it's an incredible system for the planet right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. Yeah, go. Well,
Yeah, I'm agree in the part of the flexibility, and that is it is and it was a wonderful idea when the way that it appeared, and this idea came from the knowledge of studying and researching about the way of other people do it, and getting all the information together to create this permaculture. And I think in this process, as nature in itself, because nature is incredible, extraordinary in adapting, but adapting in the way, not in the way that most modern culture humans does, adapting in the way of evolving. So this is the part that I see it has been in some way to express it has been contaminated in modern culture in the way that is not appreciated in the way that can be, and it's not honored in the way as it is. And then taking the tools, both tools together, is the part that we are I think that can be the evolution, not taking the honor of any of those two tools that we are talking in here. It's just, how can we give it for the rest of what are we gonna let here? Just transiting or navigating into the next evolution, honoring what it is, what we already have in not linear way, just evolving and flexible and adapting as nature does.
Can I just put it, it's obvious, but permaculture means permanent culture. That is not part of modern culture. That is outside of modern culture. Modern culture is not permanent, in my opinion.
yeah.
So that's what permaculture is. It's about existing. And I don't believe it's necessary that the human race does exist, but I support that.
Oh,
Here we are.
here we are.
I agree with you.
Humans talking about.
Yes.
And the thing is that I click on two things. I click on adaptable versus adaptive. And I think the way that Irene, because we had some small talks or quite a few talks already about this topic, is that there are many permaculture that I use to fill up courses, to deliver theoretical stuff, and to, how to say, there is a lack of reality. I've seen that. I've been witnessing PDC delivered in a way that it's so I don't know. I don't have the word to say it. Like it doesn't have
Superficial?
juice. What?
Superficial?
Superficial, or doesn't have juice, doesn't have the power in it, the empowerment. And yes, on the paper it could be written care for people, and where is the care? A little bit of NVC, and then that's it. Or and that's where I'm like very, like, a bit picky about, or a bit it was not meant to be adapted to modern culture, but in many ways now there maybe I don't even dare to think how much is has its point of origin in modern culture. That's what I want to say. And this discovery about how much permaculture has now, for now, its point of origin into modern culture could be scary, and I don't know where this research can lead to. And I feel fear of saying that, of saying, and because I don't know, and maybe you can make, say, 50%, or maybe there is 40%, or I don't know. I really don't know. And yeah, and also one thing that is coming to me is the paradox between permanent culture and the impermanence of life, and those two words. Like, well, I'm moving with the edge right now. Like, yeah, go, Irena, if you have more clarity.
I'm sorry, but I have to leave now because the class already started. I'm in ATB, and I will see the recording later. Thank you
See
for
you.
doing, and I appreciate this the space. Thank you.
Thank
Ciao,
you,
ciao.
Irena.
Yeah, Irina.
Ciao, ciao.
Yeah, I feel like I am like a carver, a wood carver. Like, there is this beautiful piece of wood that is permaculture, and I'm around, like, with my gremlin, trying to find a way to crack a little bit the construct. And yeah, that's where I am, and that's what I'm doing. And I assume, and I'm questioning in a dangerous way. That's where I want to be, and stay in this conversation. And yeah.
It feels like lots of gold in this conversation, and the question that's arising in me is, what next? What's the next step? And yeah,
Yes, I want to take what you're saying, James. What if we say, or what if we say what comes to us when we think of next? What is next?
I see a clarity, clarity of statement of what this group is standing for, because this is a group that's stepping forward within the possibility management culture, saying we're holding something here for some magic to be worked between permaculture and possibility management. So let's rewrite or start anew my strikingly page that states not more than the clarity that we have achieved so far, but just that. That's what comes for me next.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's
perhaps
similar to what's up for me. Was it? Did you have more, James? Yeah, it's similar to what's up for me, and including the name as part of that. But it's really clear to me that the name needs to change. Like for me, that's it's really obvious. We need another name, and there's been a few possibilities bounced around, and they're all better. In my mind, they all do a better job of being an indicator for what's actually happening here. And yeah, so part of it, I guess, is finding out where the name came from and talking to its originator.
It would be a good step.
I don't know how to do that. I guess it's the person to ask would be Clinton.
Just to be clear, what's the name you want to change?
This name, Whole Permaculture.
When he was speaking with us, he talked about inner permaculture. But I guess that's a part of that.
What do you see as the next thing, Charlie?
Charlie, can I just clarify? I just went to wholepermaculture.mystrikingly.com, and it has inner permaculture plus outer permaculture equals whole permaculture.
Yeah,
that's the the landing image.
Yeah. But people care is part of permaculture. I believe permaculture is whole, and it's making something up to say that it doesn't include that. I agree that the way it's taught is fairly insipid in many places, and so is the way everything's taught in many places. So way forward, clarity. So I think what James proposed is a very good start, and to define a purpose. So it's kind of mission statement and purpose again.
Yeah.
What about you, Gabriel?
Well,
what about you as far as what's next? What's next for you?
when I think of next, yes, I want to keep the discussion open with David Holmgren about that. I want to question Clinton also. And I want also to question Starhawk about it. That's the three names that comes to my mind regarding this distinction. The distinction or the distinction that land in the space today.
And can I suggest that it's a distinction and it's something emerging? That there's something emerging, which is this intersection of possibility management and permaculture. It's this emerging fertile edge. This next permaculture. It's that, and so to expand upon my next, I propose that we start a shared document, and everybody who is on this call collaborate to to clarify and distill what this call brought forth.
Will you start that document, James?
Yes.
Yes. I have a yes for that.
Me too. That sounds like a really good start.
And I propose that we close the call because not having Marina here feels less complete, and I don't. Yeah, I'd like to.
Yeah, and I feel that the space is heated a lot with our feelings and distinction and assertivity, and I'm glad about the harvest already. And I feel really full. Thank you so much. I feel joy, fear, sadness around.
Thank you, Gabriel. I'd really like to hear something back from the conversations that you have with David Holmgren and Starhawk too. And I'm fascinated in the Gurdjieff connection. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I will. See
Thank
you
you.
soon.
Beautiful.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Ka kite.
Back a day.